Right. Hey everyone. So this is discussion number 2. This is question number 7. So the higher order function diagram practice. And okay, but yeah. So this is the code, and if we go to the Python tutor, I pasted all that code there, and we're just gonna run through it step by step. And if you haven't done it yet, I would recommend pausing the video, doing a bit of it yourself, and then coming back here and we'll go over it. But yeah, pause the video if you haven't. But let's get started. So going top to down, we start with n equals 7, n becomes 7. We define a function f, g, and then another function f. And notice how we define the functions, we don't do anything with it, and so this is all that happens. And on line 13, we then define a new function f, and so because there was an original function already, we're gonna overwrite it with the new function that we're putting in. And so notice this f of x function disappears from the environment diagram and a new function f comes in. And then, so yeah, basically lines 3 through 5 get trashed. And so we're going to run line 16. And so we're saying f equals f of g and n. And so we look up what is f. F is this function f of f and x right here. And we pass in the values g and n. Well, g is this function g right here. And n is the value 7. And so we're going to go into f. We're going to bind the value f, the parameter f, to g, and x to 7, and we're going to return f of x plus n. Well, f is this function g, and then x is 7, but we don't know what n is right here. And so we need to look at the parent. And so if we go to its parent, which is global, we see that there's n right here, and it's 7, so we're good to go. So f of 7 plus 7, so f of 14. And then so we're calling g on 14, and we're opening up this new frame right here. And so we pass in 14, so we bind x to 14 because that's the parameter's name, and we go n equals 9. And notice how this doesn't edit the one in the global frame because we're inside of the f2 frame. So we can't edit the one in the global frame, and we only create new ones or edit existing ones within f2. And so n becomes 9, and then we define a function h, and and notice how its parent is f2 because we defined h inside the f2 frame. And then we're going to return h. And that's our return value. And then remember that we called g from this line 14. And so since we returned h, we're going to go back to this return. And so f is going to end up returning this h function that we returned, like a whole chain of returns. And then f becomes h on the outside because f of g and n became this h function, and then we need to assign f to the result. But yeah, and then going to the last line, so g equals lambda y, this lambda function, and then it's called on f. And so thing to know about this lambda function is that you won't see it on the right side as an object because it hasn't been assigned to a variable. The thing about it is that we directly define it, we don't assign it to anything, and then we call it immediately. And so we're gonna go directly into a new frame because we didn't say a equals this lambda. And if there's a equals this lambda, there would be a over here, and it would be pointing to a lambda object, but we didn't assign it to anything. We just directly called it. So we're going to go directly into this function frame. And then so we pass in the value f. And so what is f? F is going to be this function h. And so y is pointing to this function h. And then inside the body of the lambda, it says y parentheses parentheses, which is that function h being called, because y is this function h, so we call it h. And then if we go, so we open up a new frame because we called h, and then its parent's f2, and then it says return x plus 1. Well, if we look in the f4 frame right now that we're currently in, we don't see an x, so we have to look up into its parents. And we look in the f2 frame, and we see that x is 14 right here, so we're good to go, and we can return 14 plus 1, which is 15. And then yeah, and so we return 15, and then once we've called that, once we've returned it, then we can go back to line number 17, where, we could go back to line number 17, where we returned whatever y called returned, which was 15. And so this lambda is going to return 15, and then g is going to become 15 in the end. And yeah, that's this environment diagram. Let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully you know my email already. If not, you can find it on the 618 website. But yeah, have a great night. How do I close this? Fuck.